Bangladesh on fire, a nation gripped by protests. Yo Bangladesh, what's good? The nation is in turmoil, and the streets are filled with voices demanding change. Not much it seems. The streets are on fire, literally. The chaos is palpable, and the air is thick with tension. We're talking massive student protests, tear gas, and a whole lot of anger. The youth are out in full force, clashing with authorities and making their voices heard. It's like the entire country decided to hit the streets and say enough is enough. The sheer scale of these protests is unprecedented, with people from all walks of life joining in. But why? What's got everyone so riled up? The frustration is evident in their faces, but what's the root cause? Well, it all boils down to one thing: the quota system. This controversial system has been the spark that ignited the flames of discontent. This ain't your mama's affirmative action. This is next level stuff. The quota system in Bangladesh is unlike anything seen before, and is causing a major uproar. We're talking about a system that reserves a huge chunk of government jobs and university spots for a select few. This has left many feeling marginalized and excluded. Now I'm all for helping those in need. But this ain't it, fam. The system is seen as unfair and discriminatory by many. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. The more the government tries to justify it, the more it fuels the anger. The protests are about more than just jobs and education. They're a cry for justice, equality, and a fair chance for everyone. They're about fairness, opportunity, and a government that seems to have forgotten its own people. The sense of betrayal is deep, and the demand for change is loud. So buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into the heart of the Bangladesh protests. We're going to explore the history, the grievances, and the hopes of the people. Get ready to learn about a system that's tearing the nation apart. This is a story of struggle, resilience, and the fight for a better future. Yeah, system rigged? The quota system explained? Let's break it down, why all? Imagine a pie, a delicious opportunity pie. Now slice that pie into pieces. Each piece represents a share of opportunities available in society. One big slice, like 56% big, goes to one group of people, the descendants of freedom fighters from Bangladesh's liberation war in 1971. These are the people whose ancestors fought bravely for the country's independence. The rest of the pie? Well, that's divided among everyone else. And this is where the controversy begins. Feel the burn yet? Many people do. They feel left out and frustrated by a system that seems outdated. That's the quota system in a nutshell. It's a system that was created with good intentions but has become a source of division. It was designed to honor the sacrifices of those who fought for Bangladesh's independence. Noble goal, right? Absolutely, it was a way to ensure that the descendants of those heroes were given opportunities. But here's the thing, it's 2024. Times have changed, and so have the needs of the people. It's been over 50 years since the war ended. The world is a different place now, and so is Bangladesh. The system might have made sense back then, but today, it's a different story. Many young people feel it's unfair and outdated. It's creating a whole new set of problems. Instead of uniting people, it's causing more division and unrest. It's like giving someone a lifetime supply of pizza because their great-great-grandpa invented pepperoni. It just doesn't make sense anymore. Don't get me wrong, respect to the ancestors. Their sacrifices should never be forgotten. But come on man, we need to adapt to the present. Let's talk about fairness in the 21st century. It's time to rethink the quota system and find a solution that works for everyone today. Honoring heroes, neglecting others, the roots of reservation. Alright, history lesson time. Back in 1971, Bangladesh fought a bloody war for independence from Pakistan. It was a brutal conflict, and countless brave men and women sacrificed their lives for their homeland. The war left deep scars on the nation, but it also forged a strong sense of identity and purpose. After the war, the newly formed government wanted to honor these freedom fighters and their families. Enter the quota system. It was meant to provide opportunities for those who had lost so much. The idea was to give them a leg up in education, employment, and other critical areas. It was a way to uplift a generation scarred by war and ensure they had a stake in the new Bangladesh. The system aimed to create a more equitable society by addressing the immediate needs of those affected by the war. Fast forward a few decades, and the system's flaws become glaringly obvious. What was once a noble initiative has now become a source of contention. The population has exploded, but the quota system remains stuck in the past. It hasn't evolved to meet the changing needs of a growing nation. It's like trying to fit a whole classroom of kids into a tiny phone booth. Something's got to give. The system needs a serious overhaul to address the current realities and challenges. Enough is enough, the students take a stand. Remember those students we talked about? The ones setting the streets on fire? They're not just angry about the quota system itself, they're angry about what it represents, a system that feels rigged against them. See, in Bangladesh, education is everything, it's the key to a better life, to escaping poverty. But for many young people, the quota system feels like a giant roadblock. It's like studying for years for a big exam, only to find out that half the seats are already reserved. They're demanding a fair chance, a level playing field where their hard work and merit are what matter, not their last name or their grandfather's war record. They're the future of Bangladesh, and they're demanding a voice. Who can blame them? Section 5, a brutal crackdown, the government's iron fist. So how did the government respond to these peaceful protests? Spoiler alert, not well. Instead of listening to the concerns of its people, the government decided to crack down hard. We're talking tear gas, rubber ball bullets, the whole 9 yards. Peaceful protesters were beaten, arrested and silenced. Journalists trying to cover the protests were harassed and intimidated. It's almost like the government thought they could just make the problem disappear if they just shut everyone up. But here's the thing about the truth, it always finds a way out. And the more the government tried to silence the protests, the louder they became. Section 6, corruption and inequality fueling the flames of dissent. Here's the thing about the quota system, it doesn't just discriminate against those who aren't eligible. It's also become a breeding ground for corruption. Think about it, when you have a system where certain people are guaranteed jobs or university spots, it creates an incentive for abuse. And let's be real, corruption is a global pandemic. There have been countless allegations of people faking their family history, bribing officials, or using their connections to game the system. This only adds fuel to the fire, because it's not just about fairness anymore. It's about a system that seems designed to benefit the privileged few at the expense of everyone else. Section 7, lost dreams and empty pockets, the economic plight of Bangladesh's youth. Let's not forget the bigger picture here. The protests aren't just about a flawed system, they're about a generation struggling to survive. Bangladesh is facing a youth unemployment crisis. Millions of young people are graduating every year, but there just aren't enough jobs to go around. Now imagine you're one of those young people. You've worked your butt off, gotten good grades, and you're ready to start your life. But then you hit a wall. The quota system. Suddenly your dreams are on hold because you weren't born into the right family. That's enough to make anyone want to protest. Section 8, the world is watching, international condemnation and calls for justice. The situation in Bangladesh hasn't gone unnoticed. Human rights groups, international organizations, and even foreign governments have condemned the government's crackdown on the protests. They've called for an end to the violence, the release of those unjustly detained, and a dialogue with the protesters. Because here's the thing, you can't just silence dissent. Especially not in today's world. Social media has given a voice to the voiceless. The world is watching and they're not impressed. Section 9, a nation at a crossroads, the urgent need for dialogue and reform. So where do we go from here? Bangladesh is at a crossroads. The government can continue down the path of repression, silencing dissent, and clinging to a broken system, or they can choose a different path. They can choose to listen to the voices of their people, to acknowledge their legitimate grievances, and to work towards a more just and equitable society. It's time for Bangladesh to have a serious conversation about the quota system and its legacy. It's time to find a solution that honors the sacrifices of the past while also creating a fairer future for all. The youth of Bangladesh deserve nothing less.